Welcome to MGoRadio 9 point. Is it 0 or 1?
I think
1,
it's
right?
0.
Isn't it?
0.
Our it's 0.
0.
Our podcasting nomenclature, not nomenclature. It's numerology. It's always been probably the worst part of our blog, except for the the swearing and fits. But there won't be any of those this year.
No, we lost
The
track
Michigan Wolverines. The Michigan Wolverines are poised for a historic season, but before we talk about that, let's shout out our sponsors. Thank you to Underground Printing for making this all possible. Check them out at ugpmichiganapparel.com or check out our selection of shirts on the mgoblogstore.com. Let's not forget our associate sponsors, Peak Wealth Management, Homeshore Lending, Ann Arbor Elder Law, Michigan Law Grad, the Phil Klein Insurance Group, Venue by 4M. We were recording this one on Signal Wire and introducing to the podcast Winewood Organics. What do they sell, Seth?
Fun stuff, Brian. Fun stuff.
Good. Excellent.
They sell.
Well done.
They sell copious relaxation.
Good. Well, you might have needed that in previous Michigan seasons and in previous Michigan openers, but probably not this one. Michigan opens up with the East Carolina Pirates, who went 8-5 last year, but lost great swaths of their team, as we briefly discussed during our season preview podcast. We are here to talk about their offense in more detail, and I've been doing the preview, so I have no idea. So let's throw it over to Alex.
Well, the interesting thing that I learned writing this preview last night is the coach, Mike Houston, is playing a little quietly with his quarterbacks. He's not naming a quarterback before tomorrow's game.
They had like a 4-star who's been like waiting in the wings in their ECU. Like, what has this guy done wrong?
He said his biggest asset for tomorrow is the element of surprise. So,
well, in that vein, Indiana declined to name the starting kicker against Ohio State, so they're probably going to win that game.
Yeah, so it's still probably going to be Mason Garcia, the 4-star who's been in the program a while, but he was battling with a different guy, Alex Flynn, who's been in the program even longer, but was a 3-star outside the top 2,000 in the composite. So,
okay. 3-star inflation has officially gone too far. If you can be outside the top 2,000 and you're still a 3-star.
Can you name the last 2-star? Can you name a 2-star in the last, 15 years?
Brady Palante.
No, I think he got a 3-star.
Oh, no, I'm going to check this.
What about Kurt? Was Kurt Taylor a 2-star?
No. He was well in the 3-star range. God. There might have been
Brady Palante, 2 stars. 2 stars
on 24/7.
The number 129 defensive tackle and the number 297 player in Florida. Brady Palante.
So this guy's ranked above Brady Palante.
Apparently.
So anyway, we'll see what they end up doing at the quarterback spot. This whole team is hard to project just because they have so many new players. I looked this up writing the preview. They were 130th in SP Plus returning production in Bill Connolly's metrics. And that was in February after they lost 2 quality offensive linemen post-spring. So this team could basically be at 133 out of 133 in returning production, which, if you remember last year, resembled Hawaii. They were right at the bottom in returning production. So offensively, they have a couple running backs that are interesting, but definitely are a step down from last year. Marlon Gunn Jr. and Rajai Harris. Wide receivers, Seth, you kind of liked Jalen Johnson in the HTTV section on ECU.
I don't even remember why. I tried to go through the roster again, like yesterday, just to brush up on them because I thought we were gonna for some reason, thought this would come up on WTKA, and there were so many roster changes. I started chasing down like where did everybody go, like from spring to now. There were so many roster changes that I forgot to even like look at some of the guys that I looked at before. I tried to pull up my notes again, but I honestly forgot about the receivers.
Yeah, they're not big names or anything, but he made that 3 players that we highlight in the HTTV preview. So put that out there. I mean, the big problem for East Carolina's offense tomorrow is going to be the fact they have 1 returning offensive line starter, and they're looking at starting a USF transfer, last year's 6th man, a walk-on program guy who's kicking out to tackle from center, by the way, and a redshirt freshman. That's the 5th as of about a week ago is what the projections were saying. So
that's way less transfer heavy than I was expecting.
No, I mean, they run a decent program, but they're just dipping deep into the depth. And it's just hard to see how this line, and by the way, last year's line was in the 100s in the run blocking metrics and Football Outsiders line yards. So it's just tough to see them getting any running game going with that offensive line against Michigan's front. They were a good pass blocking line last year, but again, total changes on the line. It just looks like they're probably going to get mauled at the line of scrimmage. And if that's the case, they're in trouble.
There is a complicating factor is that there's lots of rumors going around about injuries, particularly in the secondary. With the maximalist version is that Will Johnson, Rod Moore, and Makari Page are all going to sit this game out, which is 3/4 of your starting secondary. Seems bad. But if the quarterback doesn't have time to get the ball off, then I guess it'll be fine. But I think you're going to see some debuts in a starting situation for players on Saturday.
I remember why I liked Jalen Johnson before. He's a Georgia transfer. Now he was a Georgia walk-on, but he actually played for UGA a little bit. He was kind of like a Peyton O'Leary for them, and then finally decided he wanted to get some playing time, and then came on kind of late in the season last year.
Yeah, I mean their receivers are not really stars, but they're okay. I mean it'll be an ease in for those young DBs, Brian, because it's probably going to be Keon Sabb. We've heard quite a bit about either Zeke Berry or Quentin Johnson at the other safety spot, most likely, and then Wallace and McBurrows at corner, maybe Keyshawn Harris. So for those young guys getting their first taste, I mean these players are going to play more snaps tomorrow, more than likely, than they played all of last year combined. So it's going to be interesting in that regard, but it's a bit of an ease in overall. They don't have any wide receivers that project as NFL caliber players or anything. So it'll be an opportunity for them to get their feet wet.
I mean, do we know if their quarterbacks are mobile at all? That's often something that a group of 5 team will use to kind of level the playing field.
They do an RPO heavy system. Their quarterback last year was running about 4 to 5 times a game. Not a ton, but we haven't seen a lot from these quarterbacks. Seth, I don't know if you scouted Mason Garcia's mobility, but he hasn't played a lot in college to really know.
He hasn't played that much. I actually have to go back to his recruiting profile, which it exists. He was a 4-star, and he's a tank. He's 6'5", 250, and he's not going to like run around you, but gets into short situations. They might want to do that. They might run an orgy kind of offense with him, but he's there to pass. He's there to be a big, burly passer. Their problem, I think, is that they had it. Like last year was the year, right? And then they had a couple guys coming back, and then I think they just got pilfered after spring. Like people looked at the roster and said, "Oh, that guy's useful," and just took play. So they were kind of like thin, right? There was like the guy coming up behind the guy, or a starter who was starting last year, and no one was behind him. And then that guy got taken away. So They went from being kind of a threat to maybe the worst team we're going to face just over the course of those 2 months because people were just picking them off. If they don't have Mason Garcia in there, I'm guessing the other guy's probably going to be running the ball.
Yeah. One other thing, Seth, I think in your little stat profile in the HGTV, you had them at run rate in like the hundreds or like right around 100. Like they don't run the ball much. They're definitely a pass first offense. So that's just something to keep in mind.
I mean, they're a dink and dunk offense. Spread they're RPO kind of, and then like if they want to run the ball, it's an RPO, and teams were willing to give them the pass last year. So they had a good quarterback last year, so they kind of let him play a little bit. And I don't know, like my guess is that they're going to try to spread him out and just run Mason Garcia a little bit and see if they can get some extra yards with him. There's not a whole lot more than they can do.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it seems like it's particularly on the interior of this offensive line, it's going to be a struggle against Chris Jenkins and Mason Graham.
Yeah, I mean, I put in the preview basically Michigan's defensive line versus do any of these running backs magically turn into Kenneth Walker? Because like otherwise I don't really know how they're going to get a functional running game going, right? Like if their offensive line's getting swallowed on every play, like how are they grinding out yards unless something magical happens?
All right, so the goal, keep them under 300 yards and don't blow any coverages, basically.
Pretty much. I mean,
yeah.
All right.
I mean, we want to see how the young secondary does. Keon Sabb makes me a little nervous. I maybe get this in the next couple segments, but you know, the last time we saw him, he was giving up a horrible touchdown to Hawaii, and I mean, he's starting kind of out of necessity here, so that's the only thing I'm worried about. Is that like they've got guys who've been in their system a little bit. They've got a Georgia receiver who played for Georgia, and
I mean, I don't
terrible. So
I wouldn't put too much onto Sabb giving up something in one of those games because I was going through the clips from last year and I was like, "What's this one? Oh, it's Will Johnson getting torched by Colorado State." All right, well, we'll give him a mulligan for that one. Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts, guys?
Their defense is the TCU style of defense. They don't.
No. On offense.
Line, but, oh, okay. All right. I thought you were
we
trying to
haven't
get out
talked
of this
about
segment normally.
No. We're trying to wrap the segment up. I think we're wrapping the segment up.
All right.
Let's wrap this segment up. We're going to come back and talk about the ECU defense.
Want the perfect game day outfit? Underground Printing has unique, great-fitting U of M apparel and officially licensed apparel from legendary Michigan names like Woodson, Howard, Ufer, and more. UGP also specializes in custom printed apparel and promotional items for groups, events, and businesses. Whether you need one shirt as a gift or 1,000 shirts for a charity walk, Underground can customize almost anything for groups large or small. To learn more, visit Underground Printing in one of our 3 convenient locations around Ann Arbor or online at undergroundshirts.com. It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle. Whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, trying to collect sizes and payments for a family reunion, or, ordering a whole bunch of shirts with your Kickstarter, Underground Printing is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with their easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing people down to pay, wasting time trying to sort out the order. They'll set it up, and you can just sit back and relax. They'll even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit them at any of their convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
Hey, it's Nick Hopwood, Certified Financial Planner, Founder and President at Peak Wealth Management. Check us out at peakwm.com/mgoblog. When you're watching the game, everyone knows what the score is. But you might be at halftime of your career. Do you know what the score is? Are you winning, or do you need to play catch-up? If you're behind in the second half of your career financially, we may need to run a hurry-up offense like John Navarre in the 2003 game at Minnesota, or run a three-quarter court press after a made free throw like Coach Howard likes to call. My team of CFPs at Peak Wealth Management are here to help you understand what the score is and what you need to do to win. Your spreadsheet doesn't tell you the score like we can. If you're going to spend all your free time watching replays of the 2021-2022 Ohio State games on repeat, you need to outsource your financial planning and investing with us at peakwm.com/mgoblog. At Peak, our goal is to help you retire with peak confidence.
Winewood Organics is Ann Arbor's only cannabis microbusiness for adults 21 and older. They're a grower, processing lab, and dispensary rolled into one, cultivating and producing flower, old school hash, edibles, CBD products, and more. You can find them across the street from Kroger on South Maple, just west of downtown, and at winewoodorganics.com. Veterans and MedCard holders save 10% on all orders, and first-time customers save 25% as long as you're not wearing scarlet and gray.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 9.0. We are previewing the East Carolina Pirates. We turn to their defense, which has also been beset by departures.
Yeah, I mean, whole team has, but the defensive line has stayed intact okay, but the linebacker group and the secondaries really changed. Seth, do you want to talk about their scheme here?
Yeah, they're the TCU scheme. So everybody get terrified. They're a 3-3-5 where they spread those linebackers out and kind of use a couple of hybrids out there, and like one linebacker behind, kind of just daring you to live in the mid-range. And they're actually a lot more zone than TCU. They don't play a whole lot of man at all. I think PFF had them for 23% aligned in press, which was one of the lowest in the country. They also don't even blitz that much. They're more just kind of a funnel everything to the safeties. And I mean, that's kind of what they do is they just leave that middle zone area open and, dare you to throw slants and stops and snags and all that kind of stuff. They will jam the line a little bit. So, Michigan's going to have to get out of their comfort zone immediately or not, because Zinter will just bash them out of the way and run for 50 yards. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try and jam the line with some undersized players. You have Chad Stevens at one edge spot at 261, but then these two defensive tackles, 264 and 294. They do have Jason Shuford at 322 that I imagine will come out in short yardage, but definitely going to be interesting to watch Michigan's interior OL go up against those size players, because we saw some of that last year, right? I mean, remember Nebraska and those defensive tackles. So
I like that Michigan played Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn last year. And you're like, hey, remember that Nebraska game? That was ugly. And you're right. That was the ugliest one of the year.
That was the biggest baby. Plus, they're fresh in the memory because we just watched them last night.
Oh. Yes, we did.
Yeah. So they were a pretty decent run defense last year because their rush edge, Jeremy Lewis, is a pretty decent run defender relative to being a pass rusher. But, the concern is the linebacker core is totally different. They lost pretty much everybody. So you got this mix of FCS transfers, a guy that played like 100 snaps last season for them, and then UNC transfer who was atrocious in the ACC and is coming in. So
there's like
the
3
question,
UNC transfers on this defense.
There are, yes.
I think they like paper Chapel Hill with like, come play defense.
The UNC transfer linebacker is named Ra Dilworth. We just have to get that one on the record.
It's amazing.
So, but yeah, the concern for me is that if their defensive tackles are getting blasted because they're under 300 pounds, and then you have this linebacker core where all of them are baptism by fire in the FBS, except for one guy who couldn't hack it at all at UNC, then you got a lot of opportunities for runs to go from, small gains to suddenly huge gains if the linebackers aren't in the right spots, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the prognosis on the run defense. In the secondary, 2 safeties return who played last year, but the corners are all different. A very similar story. The linebackers, a weird hodgepodge of down transfers from bigger schools, up transfers from the FCS, JUCO, like all the different ways you try and scotch tape a secondary together is there.
They were putting this thing together late because there was their cornerbacks coach got poached by Louisville late in the process because Louisville was like, oh, we need a cornerbacks coach. So as soon as that happened, all of the cornerbacks they were planning on playing all hit the portal. So when I was talking about like people just pilfering their roster at the end, cornerback was definitely one of those spots. So at one point, I think they were all lined up in the portal pretty close to each other. You can just scroll and like, oh, there's the ECU part of the portal on 247. Steve Ellis was the former cornerbacks coach. So they were really kind of replacing this late. I think a couple of these guys showed up in fall camp. So I honestly don't know who's going to be. I looked up one of their sites the other day to see who was starting, and the list was Siobhan Revel and Tegan Wilk were the ones we knew. Julius Woods, the guy who's returning, and then Isaiah Brown Murray. I guess
Isaiah Brown Murray's a 5'9" redshirt freshman.
Yeah, so I guess they went in portal shopping and nobody won a job out of that portal shopping. So other than JUCO, the JUCO.
Yeah, there's definitely the sense to me that if we are going to get a dose of the freshman receivers, which we've been hearing that we will be, then this is not a bad first game for them to hit the ground running, get some opportunities, because you're not facing stiff competition at that cornerback position at all. So, and I don't really foresee a lot of pass rush on JJ at all. They're not a super blitzy team. Their defensive linemen, none of them graded out well as pass rushers in PFS data at all. Sack rate was really middle of the road last season. So it seems like this should be a pretty good opportunity for Michigan's pass offense to get a start the season with a bang, so to speak.
Yeah, they actually led the AAC last year in tackles by safeties. So put that.
That's
against
not
Michigan.
good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe are they listing 3 guys as safeties because they're
I don't think
doing
so.
the Big
I
12 defense
think
thing? No.
Well, yeah, they probably are. They probably are listing all 3 of their nickel as a safety probably.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that is going to be somewhat interesting if they do decide that they're going to get nosy and try to replicate what TCU did. We'll get to see if Michigan has some better answers in terms of scheming guys free, particularly in the ground game. And then how willing are they to pass if they're looking at stacked fronts? Although, honestly, chances are TCU is just going to play not in the face defense, right?
Yeah, that's what they did last year anyway. They just kind of drop 5 guys back and keep everything in front of them, and like they'll give you the whole middle zones and tackle you after you throw the ball away because they're bringing 5 or 6 guys every time. There's 4 guys and then dropping one of them kind of in a dog zone. It's I mean they show you a big front. They try to stack the line against the run, and then guys will back out. But there's a lot of space to throw over these linebackers. The linebacker, I guess.
All right. I guess it's time for score predictions. Alex?
One quick thing. They were second in FEI kickoff return efficiency last year. So,
Well, they'll get some practice, I imagine.
watch out for that, I guess. I think in the preview I had 53-11.
Okay. Seth?
I already went on WTK. It said 45-23, so I'm sticking there.
Are you going to do this like twice a week the whole year?
Oh, that is going to get annoying, won't it?
All right. No, it's fine.
I'm
You
just
can
going to say
say
45-23 again. I mean, we'll have to see how many times I can say 45-23 before I get sick of it.
On TKA, you say 45-23, but on this one, you say 42-27. There you go. That's variety for you.
I'm not that low on Michigan.
I think I said 40-17 or something. So there we go, 40-17. We're going to take another break, come back, and we watched Minnesota, Nebraska, so you don't have to.
Hey, it's Nick Hopwood, founder and president of Peak Wealth Management, your MGO financial coach, and it is our goal to help you retire with peak confidence. Check us out at peakwm.com/MGoBlog. Bo says the team, the team, the team. Lately, my mantra has been the plan, the plan, the plan. Check out the Trust the Plan podcast. Search out my name, Nick Hopwood, on any platform and give us a follow. You know, we haven't updated this ad in over 2 years because since the last versions went live, we only had one Big Ten loss, and honestly, I'm a little superstitious. But for this ad, I just want to give a shout out to all the loyal Wolverines and MGoBlog fans who've reached out to us from as far as France, Japan, Seattle, San Francisco, Dallas, Florida, New York, and of course all over the great state of Michigan. And you guessed it, we're pulling recruits out of Ohio as well, just like Harbaugh. Thank you very much. So no matter where life has taken you after your time in Ann Arbor, we're here to help you build a plan you can trust. If you're looking for a second opinion, visit us at peakwm.com/MGoBlog today.
Here's the thing people say. Seth, tell me about your insurance.
I'm actually glad you asked me about that because I just changed my insurance, and I'm really happy I did.
Let me guess, you use Phil Klein and Owen Rosen of the Phil Klein Insurance Group.
They are MGoBlog readers, and they don't advertise during football games.
And they've got a 5-star rating on anything you would care to see. Call Owen at 248-682-7445 or visit them online at philkleininsurance.com.
1 and 2 and...
If you find yourself on the wrong side of the law, you want a Michigan man in the huddle. Call criminal law attorney and former prosecutor Jonathan Paul at 248-924-9458 or visit his website at michiganlawgrad.com. John is a proud graduate of the University of Michigan Ross School of Business and Michigan Law School. He looks forward to showing you the Michigan difference.
This is Matt Demrest, the owner of Homeshore Lending. We're a local mortgage company here to help you purchase with confidence and refinance with ease. People don't get mortgages very often, so it can be confusing. We'll break down every single line item so that it all makes sense. And at the end of the day, if we're not giving you the best deal, we'll tell you to go with the other company. We're here to offer our simple mortgage guidance.
This is Seth Fisher from MGoBlog. Over the years, we've sent dozens of readers to use Homeshore Lending, and every review that's come back has been raving. I myself used them to refinance after doing our original loan through our bank. I was amazed how much smoother the process was for our complicated loan. Brian used them, you should use them too.
Finding out whether it makes sense or not to refinance or getting pre-approved to buy a new home is easy. Head over to homeshorelending.com, that's HOMESURE, lending.com/MGoBlog to find out more. Or call us at 734-531-9950. That's 734-531-9950. I've got two of my favorite people here with me, kind of an annual tradition, Cooper and Colby. Cooper, how old are you?
11.
Colby, how about you?
9.
Can I get a Go Blue?
Go Blue!
NMLS number 1161358, Equal Housing Lender.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 9.0. There's not a whole lot to talk about that we didn't talk about in our 7-hour season preview podcast.
They were trying to kick us out at the end of that thing. There was like a woman coming in the window being like, you guys go. We're shooting the lights off.
They were trying to kick us out halfway through it. There was like 3 more hours of podcasting after that. But in any case, if you want to get some detailed takes about the team, believe me, we have put them down. Go check those out. But new information has just come across our screens in that last night. Minnesota beat Nebraska 13-10 in a game that was not exactly a barn burner, but does offer us some insight on a couple of opponents on Michigan's schedule. Probably the most positive thing you could say about either team is that what's his name? The receiver who had the Minnesota touchdown. I forget his name.
Daniel Jackson.
Daniel Jackson. Thank
yes.
you. The catch he made was absolutely insane. The route he ran was absolutely insane. And the thing is the play before that, he almost bailed out Calic Manis with an insane catch that didn't count because his toes had just left the surface of the playing field before he laid out for a diving catch. I'm all in on this guy. I'm like, sometimes you just look at a guy and you're like, that's a dude. So that'll be an exciting player for the Big Ten to get to know over the next couple of years. Other than that,
I think it's his last year, Brian.
Is it?
Yeah. This is what happens with Minnesota receivers. You fall in love with them, and then either, they stick around for 40 years, or, I think this guy is a fifth-year senior. So
But like Brevin Spanford has been there for 84 years. I don't
I'm,
get it.
I'm sorry. But, I mean, when's the last time we didn't love a Minnesota receiver? There's always, one at least.
Yeah, I mean, they had Rashad Bateman. Is Altman Bell still there?
Uh,
I don't.
I believe he is,
think
but I
he
didn't
is.
see him at all last
Yeah.
night.
He's on the team.
Must be hurt. But kind of the thing that really jumped out for me watching Minnesota play is that their whole identity over the past 4 or 5 years has been, Chuck Filianga and Daniel Falele battering people around so that Mo Ibrahim or whoever can pick up 5 or 6 yards of carry, and they could not run the ball at all last night. And
Yeah. On a Nebraska defensive line that I was extremely down on coming into the season.
Yeah. Oh my God, the interior of their line. I think Alex and I are gonna have to eat a little crow because we're the ones saying they probably got some guys, they probably got some run blockers. They were having to throw the ball all the time, and the interior line could not stop anybody. Run or pass. They're an absolute sieve. How many times did you see Kaliak Manis running for his life immediately after the snap?
Well, there was a sack where just nobody opted to block their 320-pound nose tackle wearing number 0. That's a pretty obvious guy you need to block. He just went right between the center and the guard, and I was like, oh, that's a real bad
That
sign.
happened. That was happening earlier in the first quarter. I noticed they were blocking the nose tackle with a running back, and I was like, "What is going on here? What was this the plan? Is this how they thought it was going to happen? It was a come down from expectations, and my expectations were not particularly high, especially on pass protection. But it was good Lord."
I mean, Kaliak Menace did okay given the constraints he was put under. He was facing a lot of passing downs. He didn't get a lot of protection. He had to roll out of the pocket, made some nice throws, screwed some other ones up. But he seems like the kind of guy where if you could surround him with good pass protection and good running game, he would win you some games. But he's not going to carry Minnesota to a whole lot of wins this year.
He's got a live arm. I mean, he had some throws that were just beautiful throws, and then he had some real bad ones too. And he's just kind of all over the place in the course of a given game. But obviously, it would help if there was more structure in the offense to help him out. But those throws in the red zone. I mean, the one on the touchdown, the incredible catch. I mean, he got bailed out there by the receiver, no doubt about that.
Yeah, because he had won that route so badly that could have been a much easier catch.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody in the frame with him. So yeah, he's inconsistent, but he could get the job done if he was option number 3 on an offense. Unfortunately for Minnesota, it looks like he'll be option number 1. Now flipping to talk about the Cornhuskers. I mean, they Scott Frosted it. Admittedly.
Yeah.
They admittedly Scott Frosted this game, but
Happy Scott Frost Day, everybody.
But I think you have to be fairly encouraged if you're a Nebraska fan, because this was looking like a real year 0 situation. I mean, we've talked about Nebraska a couple times on this podcast as the worst defensive line we have ever seen. And they were functional last night. And I know it has a lot to do with Minnesota turning over a bunch of players, but they didn't look functional against anybody on that defensive line last year. They moved to a new defensive system. I mean, they held Minnesota to 13 points. They let them drive the field a little bit, but they didn't give up anything easy. The problem is that Jeff Sims, a Georgia Tech transfer, came in and threw some of the worst interceptions.
Well, there's the one right after, because everyone they go back and review it after a false start, right? They reviewed the touchdown after the false start, which I didn't know you were allowed to do. That was bizarre. Yeah, and then they're reviewing it. No one shows us a pylon cam. We're all like, okay, show us the pylon cam. We'll know. We never see the pylon cam. They decided they couldn't decide after all, right? And it stands. And then the next play, he throws an interception. Like there's nobody around there. There was no reason to throw that.
No, there was a guy like who fell off in zone coverage, but it was like, oof. I mean, that one went right in a guy's chest. And I was talking about this with JJ McCarthy, is that the number of instances where he threw a ball in someone's chest last year was approximately 0. Like there were
yeah, there was one, but yeah,
there was one.
Yeah.
But just, man, I don't know how optimistic you could possibly be when the words Georgia Tech transfer and quarterback are in the same sentence, but it looks like a real work in progress there. And
he has some upsides, though. I mean, I liked what he showed as a runner. I think they could have a real third down and short weapon with him running the ball. But it definitely feels to me like if you're Matt Rule, you would have wished to have that FCS first week, right? Like with this new roster, as opposed to having to go on the road in week 1, because it felt like they were still really working out some kinks all over the roster.
Well, and they're up 10-3. They get it to 4th down. They get this incredible catch on their face, and then they got like a minute or 2 minutes to drive the field, and then Sims throws another horrible interception. And I believe that their chance to win this game topped out at 96%, which seems too high when it's a one score game.
I mean, when you throw an interception with under a minute left. There was 1:15 left or something like that. Like that's a pretty big swing moment right there.
I mean, for Rule to be able to put together what he put together in game 1, like they drove the field, they picked up a bunch of yards, but they couldn't punch it in because Sims kept turning the ball over. Their defense was well organized and looked much better than it was a year ago. They still don't have any talent, but Matt Rule's done this twice before. He turned Temple into something worth noting, and then he took over Baylor after Art Briles.
Yeah,
and he built them from like a 1-11 team into a power again. So I think you got to have faith in what he's doing, and even though the stink of Scott Frost still lingers on this team,
it's one of those things where, like, if you had said to most Huskers fans a week ago that they're going to go into Minnesota and they're going to be clearly the better football team, they outgained Minnesota, they outgained him in yards per play, I mean, everyone would have been really happy, I think. I mean, Minnesota's a solid team. They won 9 games last year. You're on the road with a team that won 4 games. I mean, to put that up is really encouraging, I think, for the long term. But to have it happen in that manner is just really. And also, by the way, it wasn't just the turnovers, but remember they had that horrible false start right at the end of the first half.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some stuff just really spiraled for them in big moments. But one thing I'll say is that I was reading a piece in The Athletic by a Nebraska guy, and the thing he noted is that unlike a lot of rebuilds, Rule is not doing the Deion Sanders thing. Like, you look at this roster, most all of these players were on Nebraska last season. Jeff Sims is one of their only transfers. This is basically Scott Frost's roster. And so the point is, these players are going to take time to change the team culture, change the program culture, learn how to get that monkey off their back in terms of because everyone says, oh, it's Matt Rule and he loses the same way. And it's like, yeah, they changed the coach, but the players are still the same. And the players that had the same bad habits last year, like, it's going to take time to correct that behavior and change a program culture. So
did they bring in any defensive linemen in the portal?
They got a couple freshmen, but they got
true
no
freshmen.
portal guys.
That's how they did it.
They got no portal guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even more impressive, right? I just been operating under the assumption that they just patched that lineup with tape, but for those to be the same players and for them to look at all reasonable.
It's not the same players. They're starting freshmen.
Oh, they're starting freshmen.
Some new players and then some freshmen, some of the same guys. But
yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Nebraska fan, Matt Rule is like the ideal hire because you're not going to go get Nick Saban, right? And like in terms of realistic prospects, a guy who's already done it twice at tougher places to win than Nebraska. I mean, yeah, that's a heck of a hire, and I think they'll be going somewhere starting next year.
Yeah, there was another athletic article. Just sorry to extend this segment a little bit, but there was another athletic article about how Rule has really embraced analytics, and how like he's got all of his guys wearing shirts, and they found yes, listen, okay, all right, special shirts, special like data shirts, not like getting your children to put a shirt on, which is my daily issue.
Oh my God, he's like, guys, have you ever heard of sunburn? Put on a shirt. That's what analytics says.
All right, now you can end the segment.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and I'm going to put these guys on the spot for some predictions about the season.
The only thing we can be sure of about the future is that it will be absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough made possible by developments in communications.
Arthur C. Clarke's 1964 vision is now reality with SignalWire, a cloud platform that enables developers to build the applications that will reshape the future of communications.
These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other wherever we may be.
You can add cutting-edge, real-time video and audio to any product, website, or application with APIs and SDKs for developers of all skill sets. SignalWire is optimized for high-quality and low-latency communication functionality for video, voice, and text messaging capabilities.
Almost any skill could be made independent of distance. Men will no longer commute. They will communicate.
See for yourself at signalwire.com. Use code 2021 and receive $25 in developer credit. Go to signalwire.com.
SignalWire Communications OGs, original geeks of programmable communication.
Want the perfect game day outfit? Underground Printing has unique, great-fitting U of M apparel and officially licensed apparel from legendary Michigan names like Woodson, Howard, Ufer, and more. UGP also specializes in custom printed apparel and promotional items for groups, events, and businesses. Whether you need one shirt as a gift or 1,000 shirts for a charity walk, Underground can customize almost anything for groups large or small. To learn more, visit Underground Printing at one of our 3 convenient locations around Ann Arbor or online at undergroundshirts.com.
In southeastern Michigan, the yearly cost for a nursing home averages
approximately $100,000.
It doesn't have to, though. Reed McCarthy founded Ann Arbor Elder Law after handling a tricky situation for his own family. Years of experience later, his boutique firm works with clients across southeast Michigan, dealing with Medicaid planning, long-term care, and tax, disability, and family law, not to mention family dynamics. If you have a family member who may need that level of care, or if you're ready to start your own estate plan, Reed can give you a plan for the future. Visit AnnArborElderLaw.com or call 734-945-9693. That's 734-945-9693. It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing will save you time and hassle, whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, or trying to collect sizes and payment for a family reunion. UGP is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with our easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing down people to pay, or wasting time trying to sort out the order. We'll set it up and you can just sit back and relax. We can even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit us at any of our convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
Welcome back to MGoRadio 9.0. I have made all my predictions for the season. I've put them all on paper. I will judge them partially in 1 year's time. And now it's time for you guys to put your knowledge on the line in front of God and man himself. You guys excited?
God and man himself are not watching this podcast, Brian. God like has turned off his TV. He was in the middle of like that Nebraska game last night, and he just goes, "All right, I'm done. I'm going to spend some time with my family. I got a whole football season coming up. I don't need to do this to myself. I'll rejoin Saturday morning."
Catch of the year, game-winning 47-yard field goal, the bounty of the Lord. Anyway, so I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and you're going to respond. All right, Michigan's leading receiver this year, Alex.
Roman Wilson.
Seth.
Are we talking catches or yards?
Yards.
Yards or Roman Wilson?
Roman Wilson. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously,
there's a different answer if we're categorizing that differently.
Who has more yards from scrimmage, Donovan Edwards or Blake Corum?
You got to go first,
Alex.
I'll go with Corum.
I'm going with
Seth.
Corum easily. Definitely Corum.
Easily.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Michigan's just
Easily.
gonna you got Blake Corum. Why would you not use him, right? And then there might be a Heisman candidacy at the end, so you're trying to get a few more. And Michigan's just gonna run the ball a whole bunch.
Okay, so run pass split approximate. Alex.
What were we at last year? Was it like
60-40.
I'll go with 56-44.
Okay. Seth.
58% run. Big change.
That's nothing, Seth.
It's
You
a
guys
big change
you guys
for
are
us, man.
really you guys are really doubling down on the whole JJ stuff for that season is bunk, right?
Have you?
That seems like it.
Well, we might also be talking about JJ runs, but I think we're also talking about. Keep in mind, last year they would actually throw the ball sometimes late in games just to, take it out of the garage, and this year they're just going to be salting away with Alex Orji, I think. So all those are going to be runs as well.
Starting tackles against Ohio State, Alex.
Ooh. Henderson and Barnhart.
Okay, Seth.
If it's a hot take, do I have to hot take voice it?
No, if you feel it, just say it.
I think it's going to be Henderson and Miles Hinton.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean he's been. They're
rivals
talking about starting him the first game here. He looked better than I thought he would. I think a lot of the bad that we had on him before would come from his freshman year, and watching him play injured, and then when he was actually when he didn't have to do that stupid Stanford thing where they just wait at the line of scrimmage for several seconds to decide if they're going to throw it or whatever. It's he was fine. He would actually get out there and maul some dudes. So by Ohio State, I think they're going to want to have a pass protector. I don't think Carson Barnhart's do it. It doesn't seem like Trente Jones is beating out Carson Barnhart. So how's he going to, I think Miles Hinton's going to send to the job. I think Harbaugh is keeping the competition open this late in camp because he wants the guy who's behind to catch up and pass. The guy with the highest ceiling. We've seen it happen before. I think that's what's happening again.
How many Michigan State and Iowa linemen will PFF grade in front of Trevor Keegan? Alex. For the record, that number this year was 12. There are 12 Iowa and Michigan State linemen who received at least 100 snaps last year that graded out better than Trevor Keegan as a run blocker.
As a run blocker? Oh, my God.
As a run blocker. Alex.
This is so hard to make us guess how incompetent PFF is going to be.
I mean,
how bad are these guys? How dumb are these guys?
They put in a ton of effort, but I was just I was flabbergasted at this because I was just looking at Big Ten guard rankings and Zinter's way up at the top and all that stuff. Donovan Jackson's up at the top. Some of it makes sense, and then you look at Keegan, and it's just like if he was really that bad, how did Michigan run the ball at all? Anyway, you guys got to answer the question, Alex.
I'll go with 9.
9. Oh. Seth.
I think this is not. I don't have any trust whatsoever in PFF, but I could see Keegan improving because last year he was a little bit injured. He had to play tackle a little bit last year, and he kind of had some miss IDs when he was out of his position. So he gets to play guard all year this year, and I don't know what the problem was last year, but whatever it is, it fixes it. So 4.
All right, Alex. All-Americans on offense. Name them.
Go with Corum, Zinter, and how many All-American teams are there? Are there 3 or just 2?
I think 2.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at those 2.
Seth.
Let's do JJ. Let's do Corum. I'll take Zinter, and I'm going to take Drake Nugent.
Okay.
Keep it rolling.
All right, keep it rolling. All right, let's flip to the other side of the ball. Who leads Michigan in sacks and with how many? Alex.
Who is Morris was the leader last year. How many did he have? Like 6 or 7?
7.5.
I will say the leader is Josiah Stewart with 9.
Wow. Seth.
See, the problem was last year, a lot of the sacks that Michigan got were all against terrible, terrible tackles. I don't think we're going to have that easy of a plate this year. So I'm going with Josiah Stewart for 6.5, but it's actually going to be spread out to, teams that have tackles instead of just spinning that poor Purdue right tackle and CSU and Indiana. Oh, my God. There's so many bad ones last year. So many.
Starting CB2 against Ohio State. Alex.
Josh Wallace.
Seth.
Oh, I'm sticking with my Jaden McBurrows. I'm having that guy all the way. Well, I mean, Jair Hill's going to be coming along, I think, and Jaden McBurrows is right there, and I think I think they've been slow playing us on that guy.
All right. Junior Colson. Is he an all Big Ten guy? Is he an All-American guy? Or is he off those lists entirely? Alex.
Are we saying his caliber of play, or
you're screwing me up there.
or that he is physically voted by the dubious voters?
His caliber of play is all Big Ten, first to third team level. Honorable mention doesn't count. Honorable mention is off the lists or all American level. All American, all Big Ten, or nothing.
I'll say all Big Ten.
Seth.
Caliber, second team all Big Ten.
Okay.
But he'll probably make All-American just because he's going to have so many ridiculous highlights and so many great tackles. And that's exactly what they rate on. So
that's a very weird take for a Michigan podcast. It's like, this guy's going to be an All-American, but he's not going to deserve it.
We've had this before, right? Didn't Ernest Shazer win the Thorpe?
Did he?
I
don't think so. I think he was a finalist or something, and then he got hurt, right?
I don't know, man, but it was that's it's happened before, is what I'm saying.
All right, Michigan's PBU leader, Alex.
Mike Sainristil still.
Okay.
Rod Moore.
Seth.
Rod Moore. Even if he's injured, he's going to come back.
And we are basing this on the fact that nobody's throwing at Will Johnson all year.
Yes. Precisely.
That was the craziest thing that I discovered when I was doing the season preview, is that first snap against Ohio State where Will Johnson erased Marvin Harrison. Like, they went at him one time the rest of the game before it was like 38-23 or whatever. That was nuts.
Not only that, they as soon as they pulled Will Johnson, and the first time Green stepped up, they checked and threw that pass, and it was a touchdown to Marvin Harrison. So
to be fair, that coverage wasn't bad. Like,
no.
he was in a good spot, and he just got that little subtle push off right at the end, and he didn't have any safety help. And we're not gonna bag on.
I wasn't. No. That is not a bagging on Jamon Green. That is Ohio State very obviously had it in their mind. Okay, as soon as not Will Johnson comes down on you, we're going to you.
All right, who's the punt returner, Alex?
Ooh. This one is the hardest one, I think, is I have not a lot of idea, to be honest.
The folks that were mentioned by Harbaugh were Shane Restill, Jake Thaw, Donovan Edwards, and Khalil Mullings. To narrow it down. That's a hell of a list, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess I'll go with Edwards, but I don't feel great about that.
Seth.
Yeah, I'm going off the list. I'm going with Carmelo English. I think they're going to want to rip his red shirt. I think that they're going to want to get him involved, and I think that he's got that kind of catch and jitter thing that they like back there. They're not going to start him there, but by the end of the season, that's what they're going to be using him for.
Right. Well, I think that's about all, guys. I guess we got to get some season record predictions on. Regular season record, Alex.
I'll go 12-0.
Yeah. Hit dingers. Seth.
12-0.
All right.
I already predict this, right? I said at the end of the Hail the Victors that I.
Yeah, but we gotta we're put it on the right. We gotta put it on the podcast.
It's on the podcast.
Who's Michigan playing in the Big Ten championship game?
Wisconsin.
I
said
still have
Iowa.
Wisconsin.
I said Iowa until I re-looked at that offensive line. So.
Hey, they're all better than Trevor Keegan. All right, guys. Season starts tomorrow. Let's have a party.
Boris is a mayor and a land surveyor with plans of his own. He hates Aruska, he hates a vodka bandit from his home. He hates Aruska, vodka. He never drank a single drop. He hates Aruska, vodka. There's poison he swears to stop. He's singing la da 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 da. One day Boris was visited by demons in his head.